everyone. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to get started here right away, so feel free to find the chat in Zoom, introduce yourself, and then very important, find the Q&A box so you can ask the presenters questions throughout the call. They'll try to get to them, and if not, we'll have some time at the end. But we have return guest Josh Metal with us, where he'll be talking to you about some different strategies with Larry Gonzalez and Trevor Carlson, and I have Dan and Barry Habib with us today. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
We are excited about this as always. It's, you guys always do such a great job. So listen, we have just a limited amount of time. I don't want to take too much of it. I want to thank everybody for being on. We've got, as usual, a great group. Let's kick this off and let's get it started, guys.
Barry, thanks for having us. Dan, great to see you, my friend. Diana, as always, it's a pleasure. And MBS Highway family, you all are in for a treat. You're in for a treat because I brought two Loan Atlas members and faculty coaches, in the case of Trevor, that are not only killing it in terms of business, but they are living a very full life. These guys are incredible family men. I was just mountain biking with Trevor and my son last week. Larry rides big waves out in Oahu. And we all know originators who are doing well financially, but inside they're miserable. These guys are not that. They're guys that I respect and look up to, and you're going to learn a lot from them. And most importantly, probably for you all, is they're incredible teachers, and they're abundant and generous in everything that they share. Before I invite them to the stage and do their official introduction, Diana, let's kick off this first survey. So we're going to throw up a survey here. I want to know a little bit about our audience and where you all are sitting. How often do you feel like you're competing on rate? Is it almost every deal, more than half my deals, occasionally, or rarely? And as you all fill out that poll, let me just give you a little bit more information about our two Loan Atlas members here today. Trevor Carlson is a reverse mortgage specialist who's closed over 1,200 reverse mortgage loans in his career. He's built an entire business, guys, around a niche that most lenders have completely ignored. If any of you have done reverse mortgages, 1,200 puts him in a very elite level. And pay close attention to how he thinks about marketing. He is an incredibly insightful guy and a great teacher. Larry Gonzalez, lifetime production, $950 million in production. Let's go. When are we going to hit the billion, Larry?
This year.
All right, good. Let's get it. 2025, Larry did 70 million in production. He's an expert in VA lending, non-QM, complex borrowers, and of course, big wave surfing. So our topic today is stop competing on rate, how modern mortgage advisors win with solutions. And that's what these guys are going to bring in a big way today. All right, Dana, if we can we close down the poll and see what the results are?
All done. So almost every deal, about 12% of our attendees here, 46 people, more than half my deals, 39%. And the biggest share was occasionally, 43% of our viewers here, and rarely 6%.
Great. All right. Right. Oh, there's the poll. Thank you very much. So about half the audience says almost every deal, and another 12%. And then another 39%, more than half my deals. Okay, great. So Larry and Trevor, keep that in mind as we go through and we start giving advice on how you're moving from positioning yourself as the low price leader to positioning yourself as the expert in solving problems. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to kick off with a quick question and see if you all saw this. This is a quote from Mustafa Suleiman. How many of you, just out of curiosity, saw this? Drop it into the chat, if you will. Let me open my chat so I can see what you all are saying. He was quoted by Fortune in a recent interview, and he said that all white collar work, or the vast majority of white collar work, will be automated by AI in the next 18 months. Now, this guy co-founded DeepMind. And before that, he started a company called Inflection AI before joining Microsoft as the head of AI. This guy knows more about AI than any of us ever will. Many of you saw this. He's clearly never helped someone with a loan. I love it. Right on. Look, if I'm being like totally honest with everybody, This freaks me out a little bit. Like, I have to work pretty hard not to catastrophize this. And every time I read this quote or saw his interview, my mind went here. Microsoft AI chief gives it 18 months for all mortgage originators' work to be automated by AI. I have to work really hard to control my lizard brain. It's constantly looking for T-Rexes and something that's going to eat me. But the great thing about being an evolved human, which all of us are, is that we each get to decide how we're going to look at AI. Is it going to be a catalyst for our success, or is it going to put us out of business? That is up to us. And after thinking, really deeply about this, team, I truly believe that AI won't replace originators. But I do believe that originators who fully leverage AI will replace originators who don't. I know first half, we're all experiencing real challenges in our business right now. Realtor referrals are less predictable. Borrowers are more informed and they shop us more than ever. Margins are thinner. Competition is everywhere. And now we have AI entering the industry and AI experts saying that a good portion of white collar jobs are going to be gone in 18 months. Many originators that I am talking to tell us that they're working harder than ever, but they're winning fewer deals. If that's you, throw it in the chat. If you feel like you're working harder than ever, but the number of deals seems to be more and more difficult, drop it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I believe the old playbook is not working for many of us anymore, me included. If you're still competing on rate, I think we're fighting a battle that we can't win in the age of AI. I don't know if some of you saw the quote from the CEO of Better Mortgage that had an announcement last week that their AI underwriting engine, Betsy, underwrote a conventional loan in 50 seconds. I spoke to somebody in operations in that company that said one underwriter, with the help of AI and their Betsy system, underwrote 55 loans in 2 days. For those of you that don't know, 2 to 3 loans a day for an underwriter is pretty good. So the cost of manufacturing is coming down. A lot of these direct-to-consumer mortgage companies out there are paying originators 26 to 35 basis points. The day of winning based off having a low rate, I think, is numbered. That's where the puck was. It's not where it's going. The originators that are winning today solve problems that other lenders can't, period. And this webinar is about becoming the lender who solves problems so big that rate becomes irrelevant. And spoiler alert, stay to the end of this webinar. I'm going to give you guys a free gift from the Loan Atlas. We're going to unlock for you what we call the AI Empowered Originator Master Plan. That's going to be available at the end for absolutely free to everybody who's still with us. It's the literal cheat code for implementing the things we're going to learn from Larry and Trevor today. I want to teach you one more thing before I hand it over to these gentlemen and welcome them to the stage. This is the most important thing I may have ever learned in marketing. It's called the transaction frequency spectrum. And there's a lot of study about this and there's a lot of data. And what the data says is that services that we use daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly in frequency are in the habit zone. That means that we're a subscriber or a user of those services for long periods of time. There's incredible brand loyalty. But if you use a service or interact with a service less than yearly, you become forgettable. It's called the forgettable zone. And mortgage and real estate are way far out in the forgettable zone. The only professional service used less than mortgage and real estate is your mortician. So I share this with you guys because I want you to listen to how Larry and Trevor are positioning their brands and their consistent marketing messages, their advice, their problem-solving teachings to move from the forgettable zone to the habit zone. And by the way, this is why I'm a huge fan of Home Report. Every month, 83% of my clients get a real estate wealth digest. That's how I frame it for my clients. It goes to all of my clients and all of my realtors. 83% of them open it and interact. That helps move me from the forgettable zone to the habit zone. Guys, with that, I'm going to cue you two up. I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen and we're going to rock with the next set of questions here. Welcome. Good to see you both.
Hey, good to be here.
Thanks, Josh. Happy to be here.
So, guys, I want to make sure that this is really practical for everybody on today's training. I'm going to ask you both the same questions so people can hear two different perspectives from you both. And if the person in front of you took all the juice out of the squeeze, just pass and let's just roll on to the next question. If you have something to add, great, jump in. The first question I have for you all is, and let's start with you, Larry, because I'm staring at you at the screen here. Why is competing on rate such a losing strategy in today's market from your perspective?
Well, you kind of touched on it with AI. If the only thing that you're bringing to the table is rate, you're replaceable. You become replaceable by AI. And here's the thing, and I learned this early, there's always somebody who's going to be cheaper. Always.
Yep.
You know, you can say you have the lowest rate, but somebody's going to have a lower rate. They may not take a commission, but they're going to take a lower rate. And here's a bigger problem is when you compete on rate, you're basically training your clients and your realtors to shop you. And that's on you. That's not on them. I get off of rate as before we get started. And I don't win business because I'm the cheapest, but I win because I solve the problems that other people can't, that other loan officers can't. And I make them throughout the transaction, I make them aware that I am not only going to help them close their loan on time, but I'm going to help them become a successful homeowner.
We're going to get into the how and the what you actually do, but I think that was a really important framing for the why. Trevor, same question over to you.
You know, I'll take it a different approach, and this kind of goes to everything that led me to where I am in my business, and it really comes around. It comes to life enjoyment. And you alluded to this earlier. You know, I've got 6 kids. My priority is my family, and when you're constantly running a business where you're competing on rate, it's miserable because you're going to lose, right? And so you get stuck in these questions of what am I doing wrong? What am I at the right company? Why is my company so terrible at pricing? Why this? And you go home every day just hating what you do. And how long can you survive that, right? It becomes a game of do I really want to be in this business anymore versus I love this, I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the reasons why I think you need to get away from that because it just makes life suck if that's a life you're leading from day to day.
If you're brave, drop in the chat if you've questioned if you wanted to be in this business over the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of yep. So true, of course. Great.
You know, hats off to everybody there who's still here because there's so many people who have left the industry.
Yeah,
when
man.
you think about it.
So let's go to the next level deeper here. So when did you guys realize that specializing in more complex or niche lending was actually a massive opportunity? I'll send that to you first, Larry.
Yeah, so when I learned early, right when I started, I was liquored up to do everything when I started. And my boss was like, Larry, slow down. All right. Focus on VA. Be the expert in VA. And I had a couple of things working for me. Our company was priced to be very competitive in VA. So our other products just weren't very good. So if I were to focus on something else, I would have struggled. So I stayed focused on VA. And then the other thing that I learned pretty quickly is focusing on one area is profitable. Within my third year, I became the top veteran originator in the country. I wasn't trying to be, but by staying in that niche, we're talking 99.9% VA, I was able to be successful and make money. And I'm like, well, shit, if this is working, why am I going to change? I'm just going to stick to this niche.
Yeah, so back to kind of like the interaction frequency spectrum. If you're nailing that, I'm the VA guy, I'm the VA guy, I'm the VA guy, I'm the VA guy, they get in the habit of thinking you when there's a VA transaction or something that's hairy. It's exactly right. Trevor, to you, when did you realize that you needed to do something different and get into a niche?
I've always kind of done this in my career. Even, I've been in the business for 20 years this year. The last 10 have been strictly reverse, but the first 10, I was just your normal loan officer. And I found out early on, especially through the Great Recession, that the specialization was a massive opportunity. And so at first it was USDA and then FHA and then VA. And as I became known in my market as the guy to call, not only you have a reputation among referral partners, you have a reputation among your peers. And so not just with reverse mortgages nowadays, but that's always been a thing that's been in my career where other loan officers will call me for advice on situations because they do maybe one or two a year. And the opportunity there, in my mind, this is a lot like I think the medical field is a very good analogy for this. If
Yep.
and talking about shopping rates too. If you have a tumor in your brain, do you go to your general practitioner? No, you don't. You go to a brain surgeon every time, and you don't care what he's going to charge you. You will pay it, right? And that is applicable for all of us. Don't be the jack of all trades. Be the guy or the gal that knows what you're doing with a few specific things, and everybody, including your peers, will come to you.
Great call. And so, Trevor, you mentioned that you've been 20 years pursuing reverse. Larry, how long? I know you started in VA and now a huge portion of your business is non QM. How long have you been pursuing those individual niches?
Well, I've been in the industry for, I'm in my 10th year now. And thanks. My transition to non-QM has kind of been gradual. In 2024, beginning of 2024, I moved from a retail to a broker channel. And my first year, 2024, I was just focused on learning the broker channel, being the VA expert, learning the different lenders out there, working with AEs, and getting that down. And then in 2025 is when I actually broke into other products, DSCR and non-QM. I think last year I did 25 DSCR loans, and I started doing some of the other non-QM type loans, not by accident, but somebody I had a client find me on social media and we hit it off and he had a realtor who I'd never worked with and it ended up being an asset depletion loan and it was $1.4 million loan. It was pretty easy. And the realtor was so impressed, not that I closed the loan on time, but I made it easy for her. She's like, "Hey, my boyfriend wants to buy, but he has two businesses, his tax returns suck, but he's got a lot of money." And so we did a bank statement loan right after that. So within 2 months, I closed two non-QM loans. And what I did with that is I didn't become a secret LO and not tell anybody. I advertised that everywhere and every opportunity I had, and I'm still doing it to this day. I'm talking about these products and how I can help a realtor get their client who's trying to figure out how to do this thing but can't figure it out how to get that loan. So it's been gradual, but it's actually moving pretty quick right now.
Well, first off, hats off to you. In 10 years in the industry, you're closing in on $1 billion in production. There's not a lot of people who can say that, especially over the last 3 years that have been particularly challenging. I want to keep it with you, Larry, and ask you another question. So you talked about you closed those two non-QM loans and then you didn't keep it a secret. So let's get into marketing. What are you doing to permeate in your local market the awareness that Larry solves problems? And one of the questions in the chat were, what kind of problems are you talking about? So talk a little bit about that. What are the problems you solve and how do you market it and make sure every realtor knows it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have realtor meetings on the island every month. There's 5 different regions on the island, and I'm in front of those realtors all the time at their monthly events, and I get up and there's never lose an opportunity to talk. I'm always up there on the stage. I'm talking. I get up, I give a Starbucks gift card or a book out, And then I get my 10, 20 seconds. I always squeeze it to 30. I just walk away with the mic. They can't take it away from me. And I talk about a loan product or I talk about a webinar I'm doing. And I do a lot of mastermind events with realtors. Every other week, I do a pitch event where I have realtors come in and it's a networking opportunity. And I get in front of them and I'll talk about a product every week, something that I'm seeing out there that I know they're having issues with because I'm talking to them all. So I'm constantly in front, in front. And then the social media just validates everything because they see the stuff. I have a pretty robust social media presence, and that really kind of helps me get in front of people.
So just give me, I'm going to send this to you next, Trevor. What does a week in the life of Larry look like as it relates to creating this brand awareness? Like, just give me high level. This is what my social strategy is. Here's what my email cadence is. Here's the newsletters I'm sending. Here's the meetings I'm going to. Just high level. Tell me what that looks like in a week.
Yeah, so one of the things I do is, you know, in a 5 year period, my clients are going to see me, they're going to get something from me over 350 times. So they're getting touched. You'll go back to that transaction slide you had earlier. I take it to not week daily, but I'm weekly. And what I have a little slide that moves the realtor over to the weekly side with me because when they're working with me, they become part of my team. We're a team together, and they're going to be in front of their clients every single week. But for me, on Sundays, I record a quick Monday rate update that my virtual assistant puts together Sunday night. Monday morning, it's out. I have a realtor newsletter that goes out on Mondays. Tuesdays, I have a pitch event with realtors. And usually I have, one or two meetings during the week. If there's a regional real estate meeting, I'll probably go to that. Those are usually in the morning or right around lunchtime. On Thursday is when uh, I I do all my video recordings on Thursday. I do my housing market update that gets sent in my weekly newsletter, which gets released every Friday. I don't really write the newsletter. My virtual assistant writes the newsletter and puts it together, and I QA it real quick, and then we send it out. But in the housing market update, this video that that video has about 4 or 5 reels that will push out the following week on items that I talked about. It could be talking about the housing market report that came out. I use MBS Highway all the time. The social share stuff in MBS Highway, that is money. So I'll take that and I'll put it in there and I'll talk about it. And I think to be a successful loan officer, you got to be a student of the game. So I'm always reading, MBS Highway, Housing Wire. There's so many different Scotsman guy. There's so many different ways that you can educate yourself on what's going on in the market. I do it. I do it. That's like part of my morning read. I don't have a newspaper. It's MBS Highway. That's one of the first. You talk about routines. One of the first things I do when I turn on a computer and get working is go watch MBS Highway. What's the daily update? What's Barry and Dan saying?
And then how do we
So
regurgitate that out to our network, right? Our
absolutely, don't
followers.
don't
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel. Take what they're putting out and make it your own.
Yeah. So you can't increase the number of transactions, but you can increase the number of your frequency of interactions. And
Mhm.
you guys are creating from the content you're learning from Barry and Dan, from the solutions and loans that you're closing, you're creating this consultative solution-based communication that's always going out to your communities. Trevor, I want to send it over to you. Same question. What does a week in the life of Trevor Carlson look like as it relates to marketing and promoting yourself as the go-to reverse mortgage guy?
So my world is a little bit different, quite a bit different actually, and this is partly by design and partly by circumstance. I'm not a realtor guy. I'll do realtor sales meetings occasionally, maybe once a month, but generally speaking, I don't chase realtors. For me in my world, it's a little bit different because your average realtor maybe has done 2 to 5 deals in their career, even if they're top producers, that involved a reverse mortgage. It's just not. It doesn't work for me. What I found for me is the best places for me to go are the non-traditional approaches. It's loan officers at banks, because when a little old lady loses her husband, and needs help with their mortgage, who does she go to? She goes to her bank. And the problem is that most banks don't offer reverse mortgages. And so that for me has been a massive opportunity where I've been able to go and make friends with people that speak my language, and I'm not competing against the next other loan officer that's going to walk in the door, because nobody's chasing them. Nobody's going to a bank loan officer and saying, "Hey, send me your mortgage clients," right? But for me, it's a beautiful relationship where when that client comes into them, they can send them my way because they can't personally help them. Insurance agents, likewise, you turn that on its head. All of us have been marketed by insurance agents, but how often do we go to the insurance agent and try to build that relationship? You know what I mean? And so that again, it comes back to the idea of don't compete on rate, because if you have the right referral partners, the decision's already been made. You need to use this person, right? And so I try to target those opportunities for partnerships where I'm not competing with anyone else, first of all, but likewise where it's easier to maintain those relationships than it would normally be with a real estate agent. Aside from that, I'm especially right now, I am really heavily following your inspiration that you gave me the other day, and ramping up my prospecting, from an hour and a half a day to 3 hours a day. And that's calling
Great
past
job.
clients, that's calling my watch list, that's calling new realtors, or well, not realtors, new loan officers, that's calling insurance agents. And so to answer your question, um, I'm really heavy on that right now and spending most of my week prospecting, having more conversations, and thinking through that idea of how can I find better sources of these clients.
Trevor, it occurred to me that it's such a blue ocean strategy to go to bank loan officers, because as a bank loan officer, if I have to decline a customer, that's a real risk. It's a reputational risk. And there's also a risk that they go to some other bank, they get the deal done, and then they take their banking relationship. So, there's a win inherently for the banker to refer to. I can't do it, but Trevor can. What do you say to them? Like, how do you get that call? Because we may not, the rest of us on this call might not want to niche in reverse mortgages, but you can do this with non-QM. It's not like the local bank has debt service coverage ratio or asset depletion or P&L loans. So what do you say to them?
Early when I started using this strategy, I felt like I had to reciprocate. I felt like, well, I better get you some forward clients if you're going to send me reverse. I've since learned that that's not necessary, because, like you said, nobody likes to say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you," right? We all like to have at least something that can improve somebody's situation. And
Yeah.
so in this situation, that's really all it is like, "Hey, I'm not going to compete with you on your clients." But when you have reverse mortgage clients, send them over. We'll take excellent care of them, and obviously keep them with your bank and with your team long term. That is often enough. Like I say, it's such a lower bar, because, like I say, nobody else is coming into the bank. My value proposition is that I can help you offer people options that you cannot, and often that's enough.
And you're literally walking into the bank, you're calling, like, what does that
Yeah.
look like?
Absolutely. I'll reach out to the bank. Again, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, these massive banks don't do it. Your local banks don't do it. The regional banks don't do reverse mortgages most often. And so it's really just, I go in, I introduce myself, I take them to lunch. But the fun thing about this is that, again, I understand their pain. I'm dealing with the same issues with interest rates. I can speak their language. It is so much easier for me to connect with a loan officer than it is for me to connect with a realtor or a financial planner. And so honestly, those have become not just my best referral sources, but my best friendships in the industry.
Great. Love that strategy. It's relevant to absolutely everybody. Larry, I want to send this one over to you. How has offering these types of solutions, and I saw one of the questions in the chat, like, what solutions are you talking about? So maybe talk about what you're doing, the majority of your non-QM business, what type of products, but how has offering those solutions changed your relationships and your interactions with your referral partners?
Well, it's been huge. So for the longest time, I was introduced as Larry, my VA loan expert, and it used to piss me off because I want to be more, but that's how they knew me. But I don't talk about the VA loan anymore. They already know that I'm the VA loan expert. They are now, my goal is to make sure every single one of them introduces me as their loan expert and their problem solver. So that's kind of where my focus is. And then it's also on serving clients because you can be an expert at VA loans, you can be an expert at any type of loan, but if your service sucks, they're not going to send you any leads. So focus on the service that you're providing to your clients and to your realtors. And, obviously, don't be a secret loan officer. Let them know you can do these other things and ask them the question, hey, what loans or what real estate issues are giving you the biggest problems? And how can I help you out? So, you know, to me, asking that question to them, you're just letting them talk about the things that are uncomfortable for them or the things that they're struggling with. And you don't have to brag about what you're doing. You can say, hey, you know what? I can do this. I can help you with this problem. I can help you solve this problem.
If I can add to that, Josh, I think there's a key point there that Larry brought up, and it's that your specialty doesn't have to be a product. It can be an aspect of your business. If customer service is your specialty, excellent. You can do whatever loans you want to do, but be known for the person that kills it at that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. So, guys, how do these types of loans reduce or eliminate rate competition? What has been your experience between someone shopping you with a conventional loan or a non-QM loan? Or Trevor, when you used to do forward mortgages versus reverse mortgages? I'll go to you first, Larry.
Yeah, I don't know if I've competed on a non-QM loan. Just people don't do them. They stick to whatever they're comfortable with, and for many people, they don't want to fail. It's uncomfortable. It's more work. And if you're a one-person show and you're doing everything, you're doing the pre-approval, you're doing your own market, you're doing everything on your own, then you're not going to really be able to become an expert in one of these other areas. So because I have people who take care of some of I'm not going to say it's unimportant. Everything you do as a loan officer is important. Everything in the process before, during, and after. But I have people who take care of those things so that I can become conversant and become the expert in these other loan products and then have those conversations. But I don't think I've ever been shopped on a DSCR loan because I closed the loan on time.
It's impressive. Trevor, how would you answer that?
Honestly, I was going to say the same thing. I was afraid you'd ask me for what script I use for when people shop me, and they don't. And I'm not trying to be boastful. I don't have a script because I can't tell you the last time I was shopped on rate. Usually when people are shopping with me, it's on education. If they have concerns about fees or interest rates or whatever, uh, my focus is let's educate you on this loan and how you're going to use it and how I'm going to serve you for the rest of your life. And honestly, the cost and the rate never comes up. It's never a question. So
Yeah, can I piggyback on Trevor because he made a really good point. Um, we're in a sales business, but I never ever think of myself as a salesman. I always go from the aspect of being an educator. My whole goal is to educate you on the loan process so that you're comfortable making the decision to buy. And I'm not going to sell you on buying. I'm going to educate you on the benefits of home ownership. I'm going to educate you on your VA home ownership. I'm going to educate you on whatever product you're trying to use, but I'm going to educate you and help you become a successful homeowner. But I've never thought of myself as a salesperson. I always lead with education first.
Love it. So guys, if someone on this call wanted to start moving towards a niche immediately, right? Like it's a journey from moving from a red ocean strategy, which is the lowest rate on a conventional loan, to a problem solver and an expert in these areas. Like what should they do this week to start moving in that direction? How did you get from there to here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. To me, it's like a three-step process. One, pick a lane. All right, be the expert in that one thing and know your market. Don't be the FHA expert. Like for me, being the FHA expert in Hawaii, that's a losing proposition because I've done one FHA loan my entire career. There's just not a lot of that business. Know where the business is in your market And then know who your top lenders are. If you're a broker, what companies excel in certain loans and what AEs, account executives, are proactive in helping you out. I have a couple go-to AEs. I get a problem, boom, I'm shipping it off to my AEs. Hey, what products do we have that we can do this with? So pick your lane and then learn it and learn it fast. That's where you go into products like the Loan Atlas. Oh my God. I don't use it as much as I should, but I was just in there and I did the sales and scripting and
Coach, yeah, the new
yeah,
GPT.
yeah, that thing is money. I mean, it gave me, I just put in a couple different scenarios and it gave me the script that made it so easy. I'm like, I don't have to write it down. I could cut and paste and create my own scripting binder. But it was like I was talking to Tim Brahim. And all the three of us here, we're all in the mastermind group, the L360 or the mastermind performance expert group. And we pay a lot of money for that. But I swear to God, I felt like I was talking to Tim as I was in that chat GPT because what the chat GPT was giving me was exactly what I could picture Tim actually saying that to me. So, I mean, it's a great, and they got this business planning tool. I went and used the first one. I didn't like it so much, but the version two, I'm actually I'm gonna play around with that because I do my own business planning. But I think that is, and I know I'm off topic, but that business planning tool is really good too.
I'm going to show that in a minute, but I want to make sure that we have time for Trevor to answer that question.
Yeah, the first thing, and I don't recommend anybody do it the way I did it, because again, I was doing great. I was leading a division at another company, and just one day I closed reverse mortgage. It was one of the best experiences I've had in my career. And one thing led to another, and here I am. I burned the boats. I started my own company, and I went all in. And I don't recommend that to everyone. It was rough, if I'm being honest. But taking from my experience, what I would recommend is live into that new identity. If whether it's non-QM or VA or reverse or whatever it is, own that position, even if you feel like you're faking it at first, right? Go get your cards printed off that says reverse mortgage specialist. Go to those loan officers, go to those insurance agents and say, this is what I do. I'm awesome at this. They don't know what you're doing every day. They don't know that I've only closed two or three of these in my life, right? Own that position, move into it, and the more you can do that, the easier it will get. Just make sure that you have good support behind you. Good account reps with whoever you're sending your reverse mortgages to. But really, in that situation, just identify who that new person is that you want to be, that new business that you want to have, and then move into it, taking those small steps to assume that identity.
And
Great.
Josh, just one more thing for me. Again, pick a lane, learn it fast, and the third thing is talk about it. Don't be a secret LO. All right. One of the things I did in 2018, I read the book Crush It by Gary Vee, and one of the things he talked about was being the mayor of your town. And I
Yeah.
took that to heart and I started jumping on social media. I had my daughter who had just finished college and she was having a hard time getting a job. I'm like, hey, will you manage my social media for me? Will you get me present in social media? And there were a lot of people, a lot of loan officers who started, but nobody stayed. They do it for a while and then they drop off. And social media is your multiplier, and I've gotten better and done more year after year while other people go away. Everybody knows me in my market because I'm on social media all the time. And the you got to capture those wins. When you do a loan that most people can't, when you solve that problem, put it out there.
Mhm.
Ask ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT all the time. Hey, I just closed this type of loan. Create content for me to put out. And I play around with it and we get it out there. And, again, that's just another opportunity for you to advertise without selling yourself, but advertise that, hey, these solutions are out there. You got to advertise it. You got to put it out there.
Well, and you have so much to talk about when you're not just saying rates went down last week, rates went up last week. You should come because I have the lowest rates and I
Yeah.
close on time, right? You have so much more to say that's valuable. I'm going to bring it back to, I want to close with some Q&A here in just a few minutes, guys. So hang with me. But the big takeaway that is so incredibly obvious to me is that this is the future of origination. It's an obvious takeaway. The next generation of originators are solution experts. They're not order takers. They don't just compete on rate. This shift is happening right now. And there's another big shift that's happening that you just alluded to, Larry, with artificial intelligence and the GPTs that we've been creating. By leveraging AI, you can develop this niche like Trevor and Larry, and you don't have to do it over 20 years like Trevor has, or Larry has over 10 years. You can become the solution-based originator much faster than if you were building it on your own from scratch. Most originators that I see are just like barely scratching the surface. The next generation originator, I believe, will use AI systemically to get from there to here as soon as humanly possible and to evolve with the industry. In the last 18 months, the Loan Atlas has been fiercely focused on building AI tools you'll need to get there. So let me just show you what Larry was alluding to just a moment ago with the AI business planning tool and the GPT coaches that we have created. Larry, can you see my screen okay? You see the business planning tool?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you jump in here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do a business assessment. It's going to measure you in 8 areas of origination: essential knowledge, a system for selling, marketing mastery, team leadership, customer service, mindset and health, time management, legacy, and freedom. And it's going to give you a visual of how you stack up, and it's going to give you scores. Here's what I'll tell you. The originators that are scoring between 20 and 25 in all 8 of these areas, these are the people that are making $1 million a year. The gaps in your game become immediately visible to you once you take this assessment. Then the AI, based on, I filled this out as an avatar, filling out these questions. It's going to come up with an AI generated goal and action item. Here's actually a walkthrough video of Tim explaining how to use the tool. And it's going to come up with 2 suggestions for me. Here's 2 that it came up with that I chose. Number 1, I'm closing 5 non-QM loans per month by December 2026 so that I feel valued for finding solutions, not having the lowest rate. That is a SMART goal. It is specific, it is measurable, it is attainable, it is relevant, and it is time bound. And then it's going to create for you action items. These are the steps, the things you have to do daily, weekly, monthly to move from where you are now to where you want to go. These steps are logged in a dashboard. You can see that I have 4 action items underneath this goal. They're ongoing goals. They are active in my pipelines. I'm receiving text and email reminders. I can assign these tasks to people in my team, and it keeps me on track so I don't get shiny object syndrome and decide to go chase something else before I reach my goal. Let me pause for a second. Just real quick, goals and action items. What is that? What have those 2 things done for you, Larry and Trevor? Because that's like the crux of what Tim Brahim teaches us.
Wow. We do our mastermind events, twice a year, and out of those, and I've done mastermind events. We got the one coming up in June in Vegas. And when I used to go to these different events, I would come out with a list of like 20 different things that I want to get done. And you can't get them all done. So you got to pick the 1 or 2 things that are going to be your high priority. And in performance experts, we come out of there with 1 or possibly 2 business goals and a personal goal. And that's one of the great things I love about the performance experts is, before you can be a great loan originator, you got to be a great person. You got to be comfortable with who you are in your personal life. And I think the performance experts help me out so much there. But now I come out of these events and I got 2 goals that I'm focused on every for that 6-month period. And one of the things I time block. If you look at my calendar, I'm a time block. Everything is time block. And I put an hour every day where I'm working. It's just goals. And that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on achieving those goals and you break down the goals, just like what the Loan Atlas, the planning tool, does for you. So for me, the goal setting is great. I spend an hour every day. I may skip one or two things on my calendar, but I'm gonna do my goals every day because they're going to get me to that next level.
Yeah. Trevor, what would you add?
You know what I've loved about this, because it's kind of funny. Because what I do is kind of atypical. When I go to Chat GPT and I'm trying to brainstorm some marketing ideas, often what I find is it spits back my own content. You know what I mean? It's reading my blogs and telling me what I told it. What I love about this tool is that it's able to help me to find additional information that's helpful. And so, for example, it
Mhm.
will recommend Tyler Osby's course on this or that, or it'll recommend
Yeah.
Josh Metal, or recommend something Tim said, and so that I'm able to get information that's not it's unique, right? It may not be specifically what I do personally, but it's from a perspective that helps me to think differently and expand my mind in different areas.
Yeah, love it. Well said. For me personally, my team is going to close. We were on track to close 26 million this month. We're going to close 23.3. 11 million of that is non-QM. I made the goal to move in from physician business to self-employed entrepreneur business in April of last year at an event that I was at with you guys. And in a year, we've moved to 11 million in production in non-QM. So if you don't have goals and you don't have action items and you don't have a dashboard for your day that shows you all the things that you need to do to move your business forward, you are just being blown in the wind. You are not intentionally moving towards your purpose. There's also a very detailed financial planning portion of this. Tim is taught know your numbers, know how many people in your database, know how many referral partners you have, how many referrals are you getting, what percentage are you closing. You need to know your numbers inside and out to scale a business the way that you guys have. And in addition to that, we have created 5 GPT AI driven coaches. The first one is a goals and action item writer. So you can write specific goals and action items based on what you want to accomplish. There's 86 goals and action items, or 86 goals already pre-written with hundreds of action items. This is a custom GPT writer for whatever you want to accomplish. There's the sales and scripting coach that Larry mentioned. This has literally been educated with every podcast with Tim Brahim and the high producers that he invites on his podcast. Every module inside the Loan Atlas, which there's over 200, every mastermind that we've had, it's literally like having Tim Brahim writing co-pilot with you as you're overcoming rate objections, thinking about how to approach a problem, having him as a thought partner to build your business and take advantage of opportunities. Then we've created the Prompt Master. The Prompt Master is how to get AI to work better for you. AI has infinite intelligence, but it is terrible with context. So if you want to maximize the output from AI, you have to use the Prompt Master to give it the right prompting and perspective in order to give you great advice. And then we have the Content Coach. Everything inside the Loan Atlas, over 200 teaching webinars, has been loaded in here, and you just tell it what you need help with. I need more confidence and mindset, and it'll give you all of the training modules and coaching from Tim inside. And last but not least, we've created the Health, Mindset, and Vitality Coach. Larry mentioned this as well. This is a big part of Tim's coaching. You can be proficient and tactical, but if you're and you'll have limited success if your inner game is off track. If you are burned out and you're tired of the industry and you're not sleeping well and you don't know how to bookend your days, so you start with high energy, this business is an absolute grind. Now, many of you might be thinking, I'm going to go back to the other slide deck. Can you see this 2 futures in 2026?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So many of you may be thinking, this is awesome. I'd love to leverage AI. I'd love to build a tactical business plan. Some of you might be thinking, like, this is too much work. So let me just apologize for ruining some of your day. The only easy day in mortgage was yesterday. We just went through 40 years of declining mortgage interest rates from 1980 to 2020. Rates went from 18.5 to 2.5. It's mathematically impossible for rates to go down another 16% unless you think we're going to get to a negative 10% mortgage rate environment. That means the path ahead of us is going to be harder than the path behind us. I own 23 businesses that I'm a partner in. Real estate business, mortgage business, investment, commercial real estate business. I'm a partner in the Loan Atlas. Every single one of those businesses, we have a financial plan. We know our numbers inside and out. We have goals and action items. We are taking tactical moves forward. That's what it takes to be successful. Except in the mortgage business, since we've had lowering interest rates for 40 years, we've been fooled into waking up, looking at our phone, grabbing some coffee, and there's a cash out, a rate and term, and a couple of purchase contracts. Like, the world has changed. We are not going back to that future. We have to get better. The past is a fugazi. The path forward is having a tactical plan and being super intentional like these guys are. I'm gonna go back to just this screen share here for just a second. Okay, cool. So I see two futures. The traditional originator is chasing leads, competing on rate, reacting to the market, working longer hours, struggling with inconsistency, and their pipeline does this. The future is the AI-empowered originator. They have systems, they have goals, they have action items, they understand their numbers. They have AI to support their decision making. It's like having Tim Brahim or Josh Metal or Trevor or Larry next to you to help give you advice on how to take advantage of opportunities. You have stronger communication because you're downloading your sales calls, you're dropping it into the sales and scripting coach, and you're saying, what would Tim Brahim have done to get this client to say yes? You have targeted learning because the AI drives you learning based on where you scored low in your business analysis, and you have more consistent production. Look, Naval Ravikant is a philosophical investor with ruthless clarity. Maybe some of you know this guy. Drop what you think of Naval into the chat. But he says fortunes require leverage. And I believe AI is the greatest form of leverage ever created. And you're going to decide right now, are you going to dabble, or are you going to adapt AI as a thought partner, a coach, a roadmap to get you to where you want to be an AI empowered originator? I want everyone on this call to have the level of success that Trevor has. I want everybody on this call to have the level of success that Larry has and that I'm experiencing, but you're going to have to be a part of your own savior. I want you all to join the Loan Atlas and to have these tools to work for you. So we've created what we hope will be an irresistible offer for you. The Loan Atlas monthly membership fee is $349 a month. And Home Report, which I mentioned earlier, we call it the monthly wealth digest that we send to all of our clients and all of our referral partners. That product costs $169 a month, usually $518. We're giving you a greater than 50% reduction here. We are dropping it down to $269 a month. It is an annual subscription, and you get absolutely everything that we talked about today. The AI business plan, the Know Your Numbers AI-driven worksheet, all of the GPT coaches. You get 7 live 1-hour coaching calls every month, of which Trevor teaches one, not every month, but he's part of our faculty of coaches. You get an all-star faculty of coaches with over $29 billion in collective loan fundings that are coaching you in those live events, over 200 training videos teaching you how to excel at the 8 disciplines of origination, and you get Tim's proprietary perfect loan process. Marketing tools, presentations, all of that is included. So if you're interested in joining us and becoming an AI empowered originator, go to theloanatlas.com/2026, and you'll end up at a page that looks like this. You'll see that there's a discount there if you take us up on the offer to join by next Monday. And if you decide you might want to prepay, you can do that. Instead of $5,180, the year prepaid is $2,690. Team, I also told you that we were going to give you a free gift. So for everybody who's still with us, we're going to give you the AI Empowered Originator Master Plan. So you'll still want to go to this same website. Excuse me. There we go. You'll still want to go to theloanatlas.com/2026. Once you're there, there's a link over here for the AI Empowered Originator Master Plan. This is literally everything I've been working on in the last 18 months. And I believe you have one job right now, one. And that is to climb the AI maturity ladder. Most originators are using AI as a search engine or as an executive assistant. AI empowered originators are using it as a strategic thought partner, thinking partner for how to take advantage of opportunities, make marketing ideation, scripts and messaging, and they're using it as an operation system to make your business easier. The AI empowered originator closes twice as many loans in half the time. So with that, there's links into the chat. Guys, we have just a couple more minutes. I hope you will all join us inside the Loan Atlas, but with our time left, could we just answer a couple of questions? Like Diana, did you see something that was prevalent again that we can answer real quick?
Yeah, let me get some of the small stuff out of the way first. First of all, well done, guys. Everything's so well said. And thank you all so much for sticking around with us to the end here. Regarding some of the sign up options, any questions you have on your membership, just shoot me an email, diana@mbshighway.com. I threw it in chat. I'll throw it in there again. But Josh, regarding some of the questions on your content and what you spoke about, forgive me if I missed the answer, but there were some asking, like, how do you even decide like what niche you want to go into and things like that. So I don't know if you wanted to go more there.
You mind if I swing that first, guys, and then I'll hand it over to you?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm a real estate investor. I've been buying real estate since I was investment property since I was 19 years old. What I know about real estate investors and people that own multiple properties and own multiple businesses, they struggle with conventional loan financing. So I want to find a niche where I can see people are having a hard time getting conventional lending. Those are my people, self-employed entrepreneurs that have multiple businesses and have multiple investment properties. Wells Fargo does not know how to deal with them. The financial oscopy it takes to get a loan done is an unmitigated disaster. So I want to look to see where people are having problems, and then I want to position myself as the solution to that problem. For me, it just happened to make sense that I would serve self-employed entrepreneurs because I own a bunch of businesses. It made sense that I would serve real estate investors because I own a bunch of commercial real estate. So I'm very familiar with those problems. Larry, how would you answer it?
I mean, pretty much the same way. You got to know your market. I talk to title reps all the time. Ask them, hey, what loans closed that were struggle buses?
That's a great idea.
You know,
That's a great idea.
Look at and your title reps will be able to give you, a breakdown of the different types of loans that are being closed out there. So, I know that 25% of the purchases in Hawaii and Oahu in particular are VA. Okay, well that's a good market to focus on. But that leaves part of my market that that I'm not getting. So where do I expand next? And that's where you talk to the title rep. And then, like you said, Josh, you talk to the realtors in your forums. Whenever you have a group, hey, where are you struggling? Where are your problem loans? Where are your clients struggling to get a loan? Because the big banks, they're tough. They're 9 to 5. They're not going to come up with a solution. If it ain't black and white, they're out. It's out. They can't do it.
Trevor, anything you'd add to that?
I lean towards what I do because I love it in the sense that no other mortgage product out there can have as meaningful of an impact on somebody's life as a reverse mortgage can. For a senior on a fixed income that's struggling financially, it's life changing. And so I'm all in on reverse because I love getting hugs and tears at closings. I love that my clients buy me closing gifts. You know what I mean? Because what we do makes a meaningful difference for them. And so it makes what I do fun.
Can't forget that. And that's what I love about you guys is that you're not just driven by dollars. you're driven by your heart. So I feel that from you guys today. I really appreciate it. What other questions we have in there, Diana, that we might want to swing at before we call it?
Well, you talked a lot before about, rate shopping or maybe the lack thereof, I guess, with some of the strategies you guys are using. And I saw, I think it was Nancy or Krista maybe that put in the chat, there's a 9-point questionnaire maybe that's sent to the other lender that the customer's rate shopping with. So maybe if you want to speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah. So basically, and this is more having to do with folks that are more oriented towards traditional lending. But one of the resources that we have inside of the Loan Atlas is when somebody says, hey, we ask, like, how many other mortgage lenders have you spoken to and where are you in your decision-making process? Listen, great. Who's your top pick so far, right? Like, get into it, be brave, like charge. If you know the buffalo and the cow story, right? Be the buffalo that races into the storm, not runs the other direction. And then we just tell them, like, look, I respect that. You have to do what you think is best for your family, but you should at least fairly evaluate so that you know you're comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges. Let me send you the 9 questions that I think you should ask the other lenders that are the top of your potential alternative choices. And spoiler alert, the questions are written in such a way that when they ask those questions to the other lender, they're going to fall flat on their face and come back to you. So that's a resource in the Loan Atlas, Diana.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people still are asking for the page with the discounts. So that's been posted in the chat. And we'll be sure to send that in the email with the recording. And speaking of, that'll be sent by end of day too. So feel free to rewatch. But any final words from you guys before we start wrapping up, and any other questions from our viewers?
I think we'll turn it over to the man himself since he's come off mute. Hey, Barry.
Yo, just admiring everything that you guys are doing. I loved it. Dan, I don't know if you have any thoughts as well, but I just thought it was terrific.
No, it was great. As always, you guys always bringing the value. We appreciate you. I know our members appreciate you. And I saw some nice comments on the Loan Atlas too. Someone just joined in after 32 years in the industry, said it's worth every penny. So thank you guys for spending time with us today.
Dan, I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. You've been coached by Tim. You've gone through the goals and action items. What can you say as it relates to the clarity and direction that that's given your life?
Boy, I think it's had a big impact. I think we're all very busy day to day, and I'm somebody that just kind of charges ahead, but didn't really take a lot of time to kind of work maybe on myself or looking at the business from the outside and taking some intentional time to make goals and plans and figure out exactly how I'm going to get there. On the personal side, getting into better shape and being more present with my family was certainly one where, I was on my phone like crazy when I was home and stuff. And it's been extremely meaningful. I mean, I got my 40th birthday coming up Sunday, and I'm probably in some of the best shape I've been in. So.
Life is so busy and it was so easy to get distracted, and we can get off on a track that isn't where we want to end up in life. One of the things I was recently revisiting the compound effect. And one of the things he talks about in the compound effect is if you leave San Francisco and you're headed for Miami and your plane's off 3 degrees, you end up in North Carolina instead of Miami. And that's a metaphor for our lives. Like if we don't have a reminder and a plan of where we're going, we're going to end up somewhere that we don't intend to be. So if you guys take anything away from this, take away how intentional these guys are and how on purpose they are. Thanks for having us, guys. This was an absolute treat.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks everyone for joining. We'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.